Audra runs into Victor in the train car and says she's looking for Chance for an update on Damien's death. He stops her from running off and asks about her progress with Kyle Abbott. Victor invites Audra to sit. She says she and Kyle sold Kane on the perfume battle idea, but now that Damien's been murdered, there are other things on his mind. Victor reminds her she was supposed to seduce Kyle Abbott. She says there is conflict, but underneath there are sparks. She warns that Kyle thinks he has the upper hand right now, but Victor should trust her that everything is going according to her plan. Victor reminds Audra she has a golden opportunity, being stranded there with Kyle. Michael comes in and has a pressing matter to discuss with Victor. The mustache warns Audra she has until tonight to meet her end of the bargain, or all bets are off. She skedaddles, and Michael tells Victor something has happened that takes precedence over their personal situation. Michael tells Victor that Kane has placed Nick and Sharon under house arrest. It's brazen and likely illegal. Carter and an armed security guard escorted them off the train and locked them up somewhere. Victor can't get over Kane's audacity and asks if Chance knows about this. Michael doesn't think so. Victor says this ends now. The son of a bitch is working outside the bounds of the law. So will I. He stalks off and Michael sighs. That's what concerns me. In the maze, Kyle comes upon his parents and asks if they've seen Victor. They haven't, but they just saw Nick and Sharon being led to the chateau by Kane's assistant Carter and another man that looked like security. They're concerned because it appeared they're being detained against their will. Jack complains about the mysteries just piling up in this place. Kyle wonders if the detainment has something to do with the murder. He knows some people suspect Kane. Jack rants that, as usual, the details are being kept from them. Kyle tells his parents that Audra finally revealed her true hand. This whole business scam was a trap set up for him. He dropped the hammer and now has to ensure she never recovers. Diane and Jack want to know how Audra showed her hand. Kyle says the perfume battle was an excuse to get him there and get close to him. He believes she made a deal with Victor to seduce him and get him to betray the deal he made with Claire's grandfather. Diane's not surprised and asks if she came on to him. Kyle says, "Pretty much." He insists he didn't fall for it and complains that she used Damien's murder to play up the emotion. Diane wonders why she'd risk her relationship with Nate. Kyle says, "Because she's vile." Jack wants to know the specific details of his contract with Victor. Kyle reminds them he's obsessed with his relationship with Claire. Jack rants about Kyle making a deal with the devil. Kyle says they would have tried to stop him. He knew the risk he was taking. Victor wouldn't let up, and Claire was distraught. Diane asks, "What was the offer you made him?" Kyle tells her he told Victor if he ever hurt or betrayed Claire, he'd pay him $5 million and leave Genoa City. Diane and Jack are dismayed. Kyle says he loves Claire and would never hurt her. He has to find Victor and tell him Audra failed miserably. Jack warns that now is not the time to confront Victor. Kane thinks Nick tried to kill him, and Damien was caught in the line of fire. Victor will be furious when he realizes that Kane took his son. Steer clear of Victor for now. Nikki finds Kane in the dining area of the maze and lays into him for detaining her son and Sharon. Kane explains that he was advised to do this by his attorney. Amanda is protecting her client. Nikki fumes. "My son is not a threat to you." Kane says the evidence suggests otherwise. Nikki asks if Chance signed off on this. He doesn't have the authority to detain people against their will. Kane insists he just wants to get to the bottom of this. Nothing will happen to Nick and Sharon, who are safe in a place where Nick can't harm him. Nikki fumes that her son is not a threat to Kane, who points out her son has threatened him in public on multiple occasions. She argues he's just frustrated like the rest of them. He argues that the murder weapon was found in Nick's bathroom. Nikki says somebody is setting him up. If her son tried to kill him, he wouldn't be stupid enough to find the murder weapon in his own bathroom. She warns that he can come for her company, but when he goes after her children, he'd better be prepared to deal with her. Kane says he'll release Nick and Sharon when Chance can prove someone else is culpable. They argue over whether or not Nick was set up. Nikki thinks Kane might be framing him. Kane says Nick despises him. Nikki argues that doesn't mean he tried to kill him. She warns her patience is wearing very thin. He lured them there. He's kept them isolated from the outside world. She has a daughter at home that needs her, and now he's taken her son. What has happened to you? How did you become so ruthless and evil? You truly have become your father's son. In a basement room at the chateau, Nick and Sharon argue with Carter. Sharon tells him she shouldn't be held there. She didn't do anything. Carter tells them there's a delicious dinner planned and locks them in the room as they protest. Listening at the door, Nick doesn't hear anyone out there. Sharon flashes to being locked in the mental facility and pounding on the door to get out. She begins to get agitated. Nick asks her what's wrong. Is this reminding you of the clinic? Sharon confirms it's very similar. Nick reminds her that people know they're there. Jack and Diane saw them being led away. Chance would never sign off on this, and when Victor finds out, he'll lose his mind. They agree to stay focused, and Nick tells her this is temporary. Kane can't keep them there for very long. As they search around for something to help them get out, Sharon tries to make jokes. If she doesn't laugh, she'll cry. Nick feels terrible about bringing her there. He wonders how she's staying calm. Sharon says it's her job to keep him level-headed on this trip. Deep down, she's not so calm. Nick complains that this is the last thing she needs. He pounds on the door and hollers. Sharon muses that being locked up is better when you're with someone. Even Phyllis. She doesn't regret speaking up to Carter after all the times Nick has come to her rescue. In the train car, Lauren finds Michael deep in thought. She asks what happened with Victor. Michael says the interaction was tense. Lauren snarks about Victor treating Michael terribly. He made the right decision quitting. Michael supposes so. She asks if Victor was appreciative of him tracking him down to update him as a friend. Michael says, "No, ma'am." Lauren fumes that the man doesn't know anything about loyalty. She's furious that Victor continues to hurt him like this. Michael says he made it clear that he didn't need his help and stormed out of there to deal with the situation on his own. Lauren and Michael discuss the illegality of Kane holding Nick and Sharon. Michael thinks the evidence against Nick would make anyone paranoid. Lauren snarks, "Even if it's planted?" They wonder about him going after the Newmans. They wonder why Kane wanted Michael there. The lawyer guesses he'll want legal advice. He wanted Chance there because he thought someone would make an attempt on his life. He has to wonder if the house arrest is a tactic with some other goal in mind. Michael tells his wife that Nick's detention could really be about Kane being worried for his life. It's not likely, though. Damien's murder likely has to do with Lily. Kane wants Chancellor, and locking Nick up is a bargaining chip. Lauren can't understand Kane wanting Chancellor so badly when he already has an empire. Michael thinks it's because Kane was very close with Jill. Before Colin died, he supposedly reconciled with his daughter. Colin could have learned things, secrets, about Chancellor from Jill and passed it on before he died. Lauren asks why no one else would know about it. Michael says it may have fallen under the radar. She asks what he thinks the secret might be. Michael isn't sure, but there has to be more to this situation. Why else would Kane be fixated on getting this one company? Lauren warns that Nikki is riled up. God help Kane if she gets to him before Victor. She asks if Michael thinks Victor will get through to him. Michael doubts it, especially if this is part of a bigger plan. Lauren asks if there's anything Michael can do to get Nick and Sharon released. Michael's hands are tied until the police or a judge intervene. Kane is the king of his domain and can do whatever he wants. In the maze, Kane tells Nikki to leave his father out of it. Nikki grits. "When you come for my family, everything is fair game." Kane's not playing a game. She argues that they're playing a life-size board game. Kane insists he's not a monster. He feels terrible about Damien's death and didn't plan for any of this to happen. Nikki rants that he only values what he can get out of other people. She asks what he wants in exchange for her son's freedom. "What's your price?" Victor appears and bellows at Kane that his game is over. He'll release his son and Sharon immediately. Kane asks, "Or what?" Victor warns, "You don't want to find out." Victor walks up close to Kane and informs him he made a grave mistake going after his family. Kane begins to speak, and Victor bellows, "My son did not commit that murder, and you damn well know it." He's using him and his lady friend, Sharon, as a bargaining chip to come after Chancellor. Look me in the eye and tell me that isn't true. Kane complains about them thinking the worst of him. His only priority is wanting to stay alive. Victor intones, "You killed a man and you're blaming my son. He wouldn't come after you. You know that. You release him or else there will be hell to pay." Suddenly, Carter appears and barks, "Sir!" He whispers something in Kane's ear. Kane says something came up and walks off, with Carter behind him. Nikki gawps, "What?" Victor tells his wife he has an idea. "Wait here." Nikki tells Victor to be careful as he stalks off into the maze. Still in the locked room, Nick reminds Sharon this isn't the first time they've been trapped together. They joke about it being the first time they've been locked up in France. She can't understand why Kane would think Nick would want to kill him. Nick admits he hasn't exactly been cool since they got there. They were never best buds, but he came to his bachelor party once. Sharon wonders, what is all of this, really? Is he messing with their minds? Nick doesn't know what Kane's agenda is. Sharon wonders if his father's death and becoming wealthy pushed him over the edge. They're sure Kane has a master plan and debate whether it's to do with just business or also getting Lily back. Sharon wonders if he's holding them as leverage. Nick thinks it's all connected. If he saw him as a threat, he could have sent him home. This could be divide and conquer, like him buying up the real estate in Genoa City while they're all there. Nick will get them out, even if it takes force. He pounds on the door and hollers, and Sharon begins to panic. She hyperventilates a little as she presses up against the door. Nick tries to calm her and talk her down by talking about the double-decker bus in London. Sharon tells him she's trapped again, and this time he's in danger too. He promises nothing will happen to either of them and hugs her. Still in the maze, Kyle rants at his parents about Victor discounting Claire's feelings to make a point. He's just as furious with the mustache about that as Victor will be about Nick being locked up. Diane and Jack are frantically trying to talk their son down and warning about Victor's wrath when Carter suddenly walks past. Behind him is Victor. Kyle snarls, "Hey, Victor, do you have a moment to talk?" Victor says, "Not for you." Jack says, "I understand Nick and Sharon were taken away." Victor ignores them and keeps walking right past. Kyle wants to go after him, but Jack warns his son to stay away from Victor for his own good. Hello, everyone! Welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Thursday, July 24th, reveal Nick Newman will get hurt as his escape plot goes wrong. Carter will also face a grilling session, so let's talk about what Y&R fans can look forward to. Now that Victor Newman and Chance Chancellor are starting to suspect Carter's guilty, they'll want to grill him on Thursday's episode. Chance and Victor will corner Carter alone in a train car, where he'll discuss his loyalty to Kane Ashby. Although Carter will admit he'd do anything for Kane, he'll argue that he's not responsible for Damian Kane's murder. Carter will make it clear that he didn't act on Kane's behalf or cover anything up for his boss. But will Victor and Chance believe him? Of course, the killer wouldn't just flat-out confess to Chance and Victor when they have no proof. It's still possible that Carter is to blame for Damian's demise, especially if he went rogue and acted in what he believed was Kane's best interest. That said, there are more murder mystery twists and turns to come, so stay tuned for updates on any other potential culprits that might get thrown in the mix. Whatever the case, the danger's about to escalate thanks to Nick and Sharon Newman's attempt to escape from the storage room they're locked in. Although it looks like Sharon will manage to get the door unlocked, trouble will be waiting once that happens. Nick will wind up with a wounded side, so that could be the security guard's effort to make him stay put. On the other hand, the killer or an accomplice could be responsible for Nick's injury instead. Either way, Sharon will tend to wounded Nick, who'll also get some help from Sally Spectra when she pops up and tries to stop the bleeding too. Billy Abbott will get tangled up in all the Nick chaos before the week's over, but Jack Abbott will be busy making a choice regarding his brother in the meantime. It sounds like Jack will go along with fed-up Billy's decision to end their partnership. Jack may take back his funding and let Billy team up with Risky Kane, if that's what he really wants to do. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Jack and Billy's brother bond will remain broken for now, so stay tuned for more news on what's in store for these siblings. The Young and the Restless scoop for Wednesday, June 23rd, reveals Nikki Newman will be stunned when Kyle Abbott confronts Victor Newman. Also coming up, Chance Chancellor will zero in on a main suspect. Plus, Nick Newman and Sharon Newman will look for a way out, and Kane Ashby's decision will shock Amanda Sinclair. YNR spoilers tease Kane, and Amanda will accuse each other of tampering with the security footage. Kane will ask Amanda if she's protecting someone. Someone is out to get me, and that someone was able to erase the footage. But Amanda will say she doesn't think any of his guests would risk everything to get rid of him. Did you erase that footage? She'll ask. Kane will say he didn't. And for the last time, I did not murder Damien. Amanda will tell him Nick didn't kill him either, and he should release Nick and Sharon before it blows up in his face. But he'll say he needs more time. If I can parlay holding Victor's son hostage into getting what I want, that might be worth a try. Meanwhile, Audra Charles will run into Lily Winters. She'll say she's so sorry for everything she must be going through. I can't believe that Damien is gone, Lily will reply. Audra will say she's worried for Nate Hastings and Amy Lewis. Then they'll hear a noise in the maze. Hello, Lily will shout. It's not a time to be hiding. And Phyllis Summers will come out from behind a hedge. Lily will ask why she's stalking them. She'll say Phyllis is lucky they didn't come after her. Phyllis will smirk and say as if. She'll add that maybe a little eavesdropping will be the only thing that saves their lives at this point. Lily will ask why she thinks Kane's innocent and if she thinks Nick did it. Phyllis will say, of course, Nick isn't the killer. Then they'll argue about whether Kane killed Damien Kane. Set your suspicions aside. If you really look at it, you'll realize Kane is not capable of this kind of violence, Phyllis will say to Lily. And Audra will say her logic makes sense. In the locked storage room, Nick will calm Sharon down and they'll end up joking around. Nick will say they have to find a way out of there. They'll look around for something to pick the lock on the door. So, Nick will open a large chest. Inside, he'll find bottles of old wine and photo albums from the early 1900s. They'll realize the maze is sitting atop of an old vineyard. Nick will grab a bottle of champagne and remove part of the muselet, the wire that secures the cork. He'll hand it to Sharon, and she'll attempt to pick the lock. In the dining area, Victor will tell Nikki he's very concerned about Nick and Sharon. He'll confide that he thinks Carter is involved in Kane's machinations. We can't trust anybody but family, Nikki will reply. Then Kyle will show up. Excuse me, Nikki, this won't take long. Your little game with Audra, it's up. He'll tell Victor. Your plan to use Audra, it didn't work. I would never hurt Claire. And he'll accuse Victor of funding Vibrante on the pretext that Audra would seduce him. I'm done trying to prove myself to you, Kyle will add. He'll say he's going to move in with Victor's granddaughter as soon as they get home, and there's nothing he can do to stop him. Watch me, Victor will reply. Then he'll glare at Kyle and leave. Kyle will ask Nikki if she was a part of Victor's plan. She'll say of course not. If it's true, it's despicable. Kyle will say it is true. There'd be no other reason why Audra would come on to him. She's in a committed relationship, and why else would Victor fund her new company? But will Nikki agree? Finally, Victor will end up running into Chance. He'll tell him Kane has put Sharon and Nick under house arrest. Talk will turn to creepy Carter, and they'll both suspect that he's covering up for Kane. Chance will say a groundskeeper told him, even though Carter claimed to be asleep, he was out and about at the time Damien was killed. Maybe he's willing to kill for his boss, Victor will say. He'll add that Nikki mentioned Carter seems kind of robotic. Maybe he's programmed to kill for Kane, so Kane keeps his hands clean. But is Chance right? Is Carter the killer? Keep reading the Soap Scoop for Young and the Restless spoilers and news. And make sure to also join our YNR Facebook group or leave us a reply in our comments section. But if you miss an episode, don't fret. You can watch The Young and the Restless online at cbs.com. The Young and the Restless spoilers recap for Wednesday, July 23rd, reveals that Victor Newman will suspect that Carter is programmed to kill after Chance Chancellor gets a false story. For starters, Kyle Abbott will track Victor Newman down to let him know that his scheme to have Audra Charles seduce him didn't work. Kyle will make it clear that he loves Claire and intends to move in with her when he gets back to Genoa City. Victor won't admit any guilt and will ultimately dash off to handle Nick Newman's hostage situation. Since Nikki Newman will be present for all Kyle's accusations, she'll insist she's not involved and finds this Audra plot news despicable if it's true. Back with Victor, he'll meet up with Chance and inform him that Nick's on house arrest along with Sharon Newman. Chance will point out that Kane Ashby isn't allowed to do that, but he won't think Kane's going to listen to him. After talk turns to Carter, Chance will note that Kane's assistant claimed he was in bed when the security guard pulled him out to deal with the murder drama. However, a groundskeeper told a completely different story and said Carter was already up and about at the time. According to this groundskeeper, Carter came looking for him to help with an accident. Victor will mention that Carter's rather robotic, almost like he's programmed. It'll lead to Victor suggesting that Carter's programmed to kill for Kane and that he's keeping his boss's hands clean. In the garden on Wednesday's Y&R episode, Audra and Lily Winters will get startled over a noise nearby. After Lily and Audra get anxious, they'll push the person hiding to show their face. It'll turn out to be Phyllis Summers, who'll admit to eavesdropping. Phyllis will defend both Kane and Nick, since she won't think either one of them is capable of cold-blooded murder. At one point, Phyllis will play up Audra as a suspect, mostly to show that anyone can have a motive if you twist things to fit the narrative. Lily will continue to act like Kane must be guilty, but Phyllis will push her to really think about whether the father of her twins could kill Damian Kane like that. Meanwhile, Amanda Sinclair will find Kane looking at the security footage, so she'll hope he's not deleting evidence. Kane will act like Amanda might have erased the footage instead, so they'll bicker as they throw accusations around. Kane will wonder if he has to die for Amanda to believe someone's out to get him. Amanda will eventually convince Kane that he's likely wrong about Nick being the guilty party. That said, Kane won't want to release Sharon and Nick just yet. Since Victor assumed Kane had taken hostages as bargaining chips for Chancellor, Kane will want to parlay this into something that could benefit him. In the storage attic they're trapped in, Nick and Sharon will share some sweet moments together. Sharon will be fully over her panic attack as she ultimately gets down on the floor and digs through an old trunk with Nick. That'll bring some interesting discoveries, including an old photo and the realization that this estate belonged to a family famous for making wine years ago. Nick will suspect that the maze was placed over where the vineyard used to be. Sharon and Nick will want to learn more about how Kane acquired his wealth, since it could be a clue to what his endgame is. Of course, they won't be able to do anything while they're locked up, so Nick and Sharon will need to find a way out. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the week of July 28th, August 1st reveal that a medical emergency will make Kane Ashby realize he's lost control of the situation, while Victor Newman vows revenge. Some big stuff's brewing on the CBS soap, so let's discuss all the action. In Nice, Y&R fans will see the aftermath of some danger for Nikki Newman, which could involve the killer on the loose. It looks like Victor may come to Nikki's rescue and ultimately promise payback for Kane, since he dragged the Newmans into such a mess. As for Kane, he'll realize he's lost control of whatever game he's been playing. Kane's been using manipulation tactics, like pretending there's no way to get cell service and postponing the cops. But it may be time to let all that go. Since Nick Newman will need urgent medical attention following his botched escape attempt, Kane may make sure he can see a doctor ASAP. Of course, Nick's disastrous hostage ordeal will be another reason for Victor to want revenge on Kane. It's clear that Kane's made a major enemy out of Victor and will have to pay the price sooner or later. As for the killer, will the person responsible for wiping out Damian Kane finally be caught and arrested? Will it be Carter or someone more shocking who killed Damian and unleashed all this other drama? Regardless, all the guests may have a chance to call home if Kane finally stops duping them about the cell service signal being out. If that's the case, Kyle Abbott may get in touch with Claire Newman and receive the horrible news about Cole Howard's demise. Likewise, Audra Charles may have to call Nate Hastings with updates on Damian's fatal outcome. That could leave Nate with the tough task of breaking it to Amy Lewis that Damian won't be coming home alive. Meanwhile, Sally Spectra will be rattled over all the chaos on Kane's estate, It could leave Sally insisting that Kane is trouble and not someone Billy Abbott wants to partner up with, even if that means losing his opportunity at Chancellor. Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers could also end up clashing after Nick's injury and the whole house arrest mess. If Phyllis continues to make excuses for Kane, Sharon may decide she's had enough and lash out. Back in Genoa City, Adam Newman and Chelsea Lawson will keep an eye on Holden Novak. The Young and the Restless spoilers and updates reveal Kyle Abbott set a makeout trap that crossed the line, even though he didn't fully cheat on Claire Newman. Is Claire going to be outraged anyway by all that unwarranted kissing with Audra Charles? Perhaps with someone else ratting out Kyle? Kyle is acting all smug and triumphant, yet he still overstepped his bounds with Audra, even though they didn't go all the way. Naturally, Kyle's intention was to test how far Audra would go. But was going that far truly necessary? The instant Audra leaned in for that initial kiss, Kyle should have pulled away and given her his "I see through you" speech. Instead, he continued to play the game and ended up on top of Audra in bed, clad only in a towel. Audra and Kyle were kissing passionately. So what if Claire had been there to see it all? Or someone tells her you can be sure Claire wouldn't have approved of Kyle's actions. Kyle might believe he has triumphed, but what if he returns home and brags to Claire about his successful trap, or worse, someone else relays the news? Claire's response could be far from what Kyle anticipates, particularly since her feelings are in turmoil following Cole Howard's death. When Claire confronts Kyle about the entire situation, she could be horrified by how inappropriate it all was. Kyle is meant to be devoted to Claire. He shouldn't have been all over Audra for any reason, even if it was to validate his claims about Audra and Victor Newman's scheme. Claire might take issue with Kyle's antics in Nice while she was left to grieve alone at home. Even though Kyle was unaware of Cole's passing due to poor cell reception, it will still hurt that he was preoccupied with Audra while Claire was grieving. Kyle's behavior was appalling and can be seen as a significant betrayal of Claire's trust. He certainly didn't inform Claire that he intended to set Audra up for this fall and kiss her in the meantime. Fans of YNR recognize that this is Claire's first genuine relationship, which has always felt somewhat immature, almost reminiscent of a high school romance. The fact that Kyle was kissing Audra without Claire's consent could still be a major issue for her, especially given her current emotional vulnerability. Be sure to catch up on everything happening with YNR right now. Come back here often for The Young and the Restless spoilers, news, and updates. Hold on to your martinis because Genoa City might be gearing up for one fiery shakeup. With Cole's tragic death leaving Victoria single once again, we can't help but wonder if The Young and the Restless is getting up to open the door for her and Kane to revisit their unfinished business. Remember when Kane and Victoria shared that sizzling kiss back in the day? It was the spark that contributed to blowing up Kane and Lily's marriage and sent Lily running from town after prison. And, not too long after, Kane went packing too. Now that he's back with billionaire swagger and no Lily to run back to, the possibilities feel endless. Lily's made it crystal clear that she's moved on and isn't looking back. Not even with Damien's death is softening her to Kane's rough edges. In fact, she wants less to do with him now than ever. Meanwhile, Kane seemingly has been inching closer to Amanda. But come on, is there really fire there, or just smoke? Victoria doesn't just need a man, she needs a powerhouse. A partner who understands her corporate drive and isn't intimidated by her cutthroat nature. Kane's no longer the schemer who showed up in Genoa City years ago. He's reinvented himself as a force to be reckoned with, and he might be exactly the type of man Victoria has been waiting for. Let's not kid ourselves, though. If Kane and Victoria go there, the fallout could be delicious. The Newmans won't exactly roll out the red carpet for Kane, and there's bound to be some explosive reactions from Genoa City's elite. But could that resistance only make their bond stronger? And imagine the power couple energy if these two join forces. They'd have billionaire status, boardroom battles, and bedroom fireworks. Kane's rugged charm combined with Victoria's cool sophistication, that's the kind of chemistry that doesn't just simmer, it boils over. If Victoria and Kane are standing on the edge of something risky, thrilling, and possibly game-changing, it could change the dynamics around town completely. Genoa City, are you ready for this? The Young and the Restless spoilers are in for Wednesday, July 23, 2025. Fans can expect Nikki Newman to make a discovery. Lily Winters stands her ground with Phyllis Summers. Plus, Kane Ashby questions Amanda Sinclair's loyalty. Let's start off with Kyle, who will still be fuming over Victor Newman and Audra Charles's. Kyle tried to corner Victor, but he was tailing Carter. Victor just kept walking, and Jack Abbott warned his son to just keep his cool for now. However, fans know that Kyle has a hard time doing that once he's set off, like he is over Audra. At some point in Wednesday's episode, Kyle will approach Nikki. Since he can't talk Victor man-to-man, Kyle will inform Nikki about what her husband has been up to. Of course, Nikki knows how Victor is, so this news might not be totally surprising to her. At the same time, Nikki is very close to her granddaughter, and she will fume over Claire Grace Newman's heart. The Young and the Restless, spoilers for tomorrow's episode, reveal that Amanda will get questioned. When the lawyer catches Kane looking at security footage, she will question if he deleted a specific part of it. Of course, Kane will deny it and question Amanda's loyalty. If neither of them deleted the footage, then it has to be another staff member. Perhaps Carter. Over with Lily and Phyllis, they face off. Lily will stand her ground that Kane is guilty of killing Damian Kane. However, Phyllis is working on a plan to clear Kane's name, hoping it will get her everything she's been wanting. As more people find out about Carter locking up Nick Newman and Sharon Newman, there could be more chaos and questions. There might be an unofficial search for Nick and Sharon, especially if Chance Chancellor knows nothing about this house arrest. Nick and Sharon are trying to find a way out, but so far, nothing. In the meantime, being locked up together seems to be allowing them to get even closer. Once they are rescued, could Schick share a kiss? The Young and the Restless spoilers for Wednesday, July 23rd reveal that Amanda Sinclair will make a disturbing discovery while Kyle Abbott spills the truth. Lily Winters and Phyllis Summers will also get into a fight over Kane Ashby. So here's what Y&R fans can look forward to. For starters, Amanda will witness something troubling. After Amanda catches Kane looking at security footage, she'll fear he's trying to delete it and will strongly advise against doing something so risky. Of course, the first copy of the footage has already been erased, so Kane will confront Amanda and ask if she had something to do with that. Amanda and Kane will get into an argument as they hurl accusations at each other on Wednesday's show. As for the security footage, there's supposed to be a backup copy after 24 hours have passed. Will Kane find that someone has managed to delete that footage too? Over with Lily and Phyllis, they'll have a confrontation of their own. Since Lily will dig her heels in when it comes to Kane's guilt, Phyllis will rush to his defense. That'll bring plenty of tension as Lily badmouths Kane while listening to Phyllis argue there has to be more to the story. Phyllis just won't buy the idea that Kane would have been reckless enough to kill Damian Kane like that. Lily and Phyllis may eventually get updates on Nick Newman and Sharon Newman being on house arrest. Although Phyllis is trying to be loyal to Kane, she may have a problem with this whole hostage situation. Next, Kyle will have some big news to share with Nikki Newman, who'll find out Victor Newman hired Audra Charles to blow up Kyle's romance with Claire Newman. Nikki will know that absolutely sounds like something Victor would do, so she may believe Kyle and worry about whatever her husband might pull next. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Kyle will plan on confronting Victor the first chance he gets, but he'll have to wait until Victor's done trying to get Nick and Sharon released. Heartache has once again hit Lily on The Young and the Restless. Her beau Damien was killed during their trip to France. Lily is grief-stricken now, but she'll eventually find love again, and fans think it'll be with this man. Lily's life has been turned upside down since arriving in France. She was stunned to discover Aristotle Dumas was her ex-husband, Kane. Kane made it clear he still loves Lily, but she put the kibosh on a reunion. Lily was ready to move on with Damien until tragedy struck. Damien was killed by a knife to the back, launching a murder mystery. As Chance begins his investigation, Lily is someone who will provide assistance. Lily is certain Kane is responsible for Damien's death and wants him to pay. Right now, romance is the last thing on Lily's mind. However, that could change with her and Chance working on the case. On X, fans believe that Lily and Chance have potential as a couple. Chance and Lily have a little spark, right? Asked one user. Another fan was on board with the idea. Lily and Chance would be an interesting pairing, but probably won't be happening since he's leaving. Although a Lane reunion is being foreshadowed, Lily moving on to someone like Chance would be refreshing. Chance has been single for a while and needs a love interest. Having him date Lily would bring some family awkwardness. Lily's brother Devin is married to Chance's ex-wife Abby, so Dabby will probably feel uncomfortable with the relationship. Plus, let's not forget Kane, who'll be upset with the romance. He enlisted the detective to protect him, but Chance stealing Lily will create tension between the two men. Genoa City. The glittering facade of the Newman family was shattered this week in a violent confrontation that left Nick Newman fighting for his life and exposed a dark legacy of revenge years in the making. The shocking assailant was not a stranger or a business rival, but a member of their own family, Reed Hellstrom. The attack was swift and brutal. A masked figure, initially believed to be a hired thug, ambushed Nick. But a desperate struggle saw the assailant's mask torn away, revealing the face of Victoria Newman's long-absent son. The boy who once quietly strummed a guitar has returned as a man consumed by a cold fury, his eyes burning with a rage nurtured since the public downfall of his father, J.T. Hellstrom. "You all treated my father like garbage," Reed snarled at a bleeding Nick, his voice devoid of the warmth anyone remembered. "You dragged him through the dirt, and everyone just moved on, like he didn't matter." In a chilling confession that resolves another of Genoa City's recent tragedies, Reed admitted to the murder of Damien, a man he deemed a pawn who got too close to uncovering his plans. "I don't regret it," Reed stated without remorse. "For every time your family broke mine, I'm going to return it tenfold. You think I'm the villain? I'm the reckoning." Before Nick lost consciousness, Reed vanished into the night, leaving behind a pool of blood and a name that sent shockwaves through the family. When Sharon Collins and Sally Spectra found Nick, he could only whisper the identity of his attacker, a name that turned their panic to horrified disbelief. The aftermath has been catastrophic. As Nick was rushed into emergency surgery, the Genoa City Police Department, led by Chance Chancellor, launched a statewide manhunt for a fugitive who is now a confessed murderer. Reed, having planned his return for years, proved elusive, disappearing without a trace. The news devastated Victoria, who collapsed under the weight of her son's transformation from a wounded boy into a calculated killer. For Victor Newman, the attack represents not just a family tragedy, but a dangerous scandal threatening to unravel his empire from within. This was not a corporate takeover. This was an inside job fueled by the deepest of wounds. While Nick Newman clings to life, the family must now confront a terrifying new reality. Reed Hellstrom is no longer a painful memory, but an active threat. He is out there, driven by a twisted sense of justice and a belief that the Newmans destroyed his father. With one murder confirmed and another attempted, Genoa City is left to wonder, who will be next on Reed's list? The Newman legacy of pain has come home to roost, and it has come armed with a knife. The Young and the Restless star Amelia Heinle teased that Victoria could bounce back. Victoria is currently grieving the loss of Cole on The Young and the Restless, but it's a soap opera, so storylines have to move quickly. Amelia Heinle teased what's to come for her on-screen alter ego. Fans were shocked when Y&R killed off Cole. His daughter, Claire, and the love of his life, Victoria, said their goodbyes. He passed away from complications of Legionnaire's disease. It was a difficult scene for everyone to film, including Heinle herself. In an interview with Michael Fairman TV, she revealed what it was like to say goodbye to Peck. "You know, it was just one of those things that was really heartfelt. We knew the audience did not want to see him go this way, but we wanted to just try to make it as meaningful as we could," Heinle recalled. "I think J. Eddie felt the same way. He wanted to make it really good, and he wanted it to be a good exit." Heinle admitted that it's not a fun day when you have to do this type of material. "It's not a soapy storyline. It reflects real-life events. The actors made sure that this scene was as accurate as possible. You can't fake that kind of stuff. It's either got to feel real when doing the scenes, or just don't bother, because it's a death, and it's like faking being sad for a death. And when you see that, it doesn't come off, Heinle explained. Y&R fans are curious to see what's next for Victoria. Will she be able to move on from such a devastating loss? Heinle teased what's to come. "Oh, she'll recover. Where's Nate?" she joked. Heinle noted that it will take time for Victoria to heal, and then she could end up with someone new. What about a possible reconciliation with Nate? Fans noticed there are still sparks between them. "I don't know what Josh Griffith has in mind," Heinle said. "Right now, it's about Claire and making sure she is getting through it and being a good mom to the kids." Fans would also like to see Victoria and Kane become a power couple. What are your thoughts? What do you think is next for Victoria? Do you think she'll bounce back quickly? Share your thoughts below in the comments section.